She's saying no, but
she's mad, but she still can't even stand.
She's so wobbly.
Zhang Weili is furious.
She's upset. But 100%.
Oh, welcome in everyone to a brand new edition of Axe Kick Picks, episode 82 on this lovely Friday afternoon, February the 9th, 2024. As always, I'm your host, D-Rock, and joining me from the beautiful state of South Carolina, the golf capital of the world, the legend Joey D. Joey, how you doing today, kid?
Doing well, and Donald Trump will be in Coastal Carolina this weekend. Just had to make that known.
You going to see him?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you got anybody coming down here, you got to go check them out. You know what I'm saying? You don't get that often over here for some reason.
Yes, sir. Other than that, weather, I know we've had a stretch of like 9 to 8 days of cold, gloomy days here on the East Coast. How have things been down there for you?
Same, man. Like I said, I don't know if I talked about it prior, but we're tired of the cold, man. We want spring to get here and get ready into the warmer weather, man. We're past out west. They had 7 feet of snow. We're into February. I mean, let's the March. Come on, make your way already.
Yeah, we can't wait for those spring. It's actually really nice today. I think over the weekend for Super Bowl weekend, the big game should be around the 60s. But Joe, we got a great episode for you and for everyone today. We'll recap UFC Vegas 85. Some interesting fights. We'll talk about last week, how we did. We even had a little boxing recap with Teofimo Lopez last night. Questionable scorecards. We'll talk about that. UFC Vegas 86. We're back at the Apex for another middleweight bout between Joe Pyfer and Jack Hermanson. We got picks and plays for you there. Some MMA news towards the end, and we'll end the show with Joey's segment. 10 seconds left. But Joe, let's start with last week. Nasruddin Imavov gets the majority decision over Roman Dolidze. I thought it was actually good. I heard a lot of people on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, wasn't that interesting of a main event. I actually thought I disagreed. I thought, Roman Dolidze, it wasn't spectacular, but I thought he gave it his all. And say what you want, the cardio kept up, and he was even in the clinch. He was landing some of those big elbows on Nasruddin Imavov, but Imavov's striking was just too advanced, too sharp, and ultimately he got the majority win over Roman Dolidze. I thought it was closer than a lot of people thought, if I'm being honest. I did think Nasruddin won. But, what are your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, we had that 47-47 card that Verdict went and spoke about. It was interesting. A lot of controversy in that fight. Regardless how you looked at it, at the end, it came down to a majority decision. I think for the most part, it's definitely unwatchable if you're a casual viewer. I hate to say it like that, but for 100%. The most part, if you're hearing complaints from hardcore fans, then there was something going on in that main event that it wasn't entertaining. I mean, the star power wasn't necessarily there. It was a difficult fight to absorb in a sense. So I actually missed it. I had to rewatch the fight, and I just thought that Roman had more tools in his arsenal, but he just was not effective in putting them into play. And Nasruddin, he is the sniper for a reason. He has the ability to stay on the feet and tag you up. So, he fell into his game a little bit. Roman slowed down as the fight progressed as well. And Nasruddin, he came out with an important win in his career. I know Roman is still at the top of the heap, so let's see him get back on track. I know he hasn't had the best of luck in his recent 4 outings. I think he's lost 3 of the last 4 because he was undefeated coming before then. So I want to see what happens with him going forward. But Nasruddin, he made himself, a presence in that 185-pound division.
Yeah, the middleweight division is getting very interesting right now. Nasruddin cracks the top 10. He is at 8. Roman Dolidze goes down. He's still in the top 10, sitting at number 10, but some work to do now. That's 2 in a row for Roman Dolidze that he's lost. A lot of people were saying the little scuffle between Nasruddin and Chris Curtis, he was dealing with one of his teammates. They said that was the most interesting part of the fight. They had their little thing. And, Chris Curtis snapped back on Twitter saying 2 eye pokes. He had the illegal knee, the knee to the head. He was deducted a point. I want to get your thoughts on that. I thought Roman was kind of playing the game a little bit, putting his hands down when the rule needs to be changed. And I know a lot of people, each commission is different. Nevada's the head of everyone. Then you got California, Andy Foster's trying to change things up over there. But I just think there's too many incidents where fighters know that if they play the game, they can't get knocked out. And it was illegal. And I'm glad Herb Dean, or I forget what actually ref the main event, but I'm glad they took a point because, you know, you need to. But I also don't like how fighters are playing the game, you know, like touching it with their fingertips and just barely, you know, grazing the line.
Yeah, I mean, if you're turning it over to me real quick, it's difficult. I don't know necessarily. What are your expectations for them to change the rule? Are you thinking like an immediate point deduction, like right off the rip, no warning, just like with groin shots? And we came into understanding. I know this hasn't had anything to do with it, but in terms of the weight cuts, like if somebody misses weight, to emphasize it a little more, would we deduct a point right off the rip? So you know how when a person's got a bad cut and they start the round and then they immediately stop it for a doctor's opinion, can the same be done as soon as the fight starts? That if a person had missed weight significantly and the other fighter accepted that, they stop the fight and they deduct a point from that fighter, that could probably emphasize some more caution with terms of the weight cut, and then going forth with eye pokes and groin strikes.
My understanding with the whole rule is that they're instructed in the back of the room before they come out, no matter what region or area they're in, whether it's Canada, whether it's in New York, Texas, California, Nevada, wherever they are. Each athletic commission is different. The rules are different. So we had this incident a few weeks ago when it was up in Toronto with a knee to the head or an illegal strike. So my understanding is that they're taught or they're told the rules beforehand in the back room. If that's your warning, I don't want another warning after you give me an illegal strike to the knee. And if I can't you need to deduct a point immediately. The same thing with the fence grab. Immediate fence grab, it's over, because that could change the whole position of a fight.
Absolutely.
They need to be more strict about it. I'm glad he took a point from Nasruddin. It really didn't change the outcome of the fight, but I just wanted to get your opinion on, the illegal knees, and like it feels like every week it continues.
Yeah, and we're on the same page in terms of that and what we think needs to be done. I think maybe just taking the money doesn't seem to be enough. We need to actually affect them in terms of their, performance. So it affecting them both ways. We're trying to get to the fighters in that aspect, and I think it's not fair because we're still in the aspect of pay and all that. But man, I think it definitely needs to be done. We need some sort of significant change. And wouldn't it be easier if we did follow the universal rule set? If not every state athletic commission was different and varied, that these fighters have to stay on their toes in terms of what they can and cannot do. I feel like they should implement a universal rule. And I know that goes down to get into legislation into states' rules, but why not? If we have a universal body, I know there's no unionization, but maybe some type of commission union. If the fighters can't get one, maybe we can get the commissions to get a union where, the rules are just uniform across. And now the fighters have an easier time to understand what they're getting into when they get into a certain state, instead of always, like I said, changing the rule set, unable to do this. This is a grounded opponent and that's not. This is illegal and that's not. It's kind of hard to be aware at all times when you have gone through a fight camp and you're focused on another person trying to beat you up. So
yeah, and I think this is a relatively new sport where they're learning new ways to improve and ref and judge the fight. So, and if they do create a commission, Andy Foster needs to be head of it. I mean, he's the gold standard of it. He's open to changing. He's open to the idea of
he can breed successors.
Yes, exactly. So. Yeah, I love Andy Foster and what he's trying to accomplish over there in Vegas. So, spinning it forward for these two fighters, Nasruddin cracks the top 10 now at 8. What do you like him moving forward? Maybe because there's a lot of guys on, Sean Strickland just fought. Izzy still on the men. Robert Whitaker has a fight. Jared Cannonier still hurt. Marvin Vettori's booked up. Paulo Costa fights next week. Brandon Allen doesn't have a fight, or does he? Don't really know. But there's not really much for Nasruddin moving forward. Do you have anything maybe you want to see in the middleweight division?
I actually do think, regardless of the circumstance, that he does need to continue fighting forward. So I do think he should look for someone ahead of him, and I think the UFC may do that. And it's also proven his merit, whether or not this was a legitimate win or not. So test him against maybe someone in the top 5. I know you said most of it's being filled out. I mean, it could be anyone there. Marvin Vettori, Jared Cannonier. Robert Whitaker's got to fight Paulo Costa, so that's 3 and 6 right there. That's going to shake up some things depending on who comes out of that next week. And then for Roman Dolidze, I mean, he's like I said, on a bad streak of luck and performances. He's going to have to play gatekeeper for some rising stars, in my opinion, and that could work in his favor if he defends his ranking.
In the co-main event, what a fucking performance! What a post-fight interview. Manny Moicano gets the unanimous decision win.
He's gold on the mic.
Oh my God, he's really developed like his mic game and cutting a promo. I mean, because he's been around for a while now, and if you go out there and do your work and you're kind of quiet, you kind of get lost in the roster of all these fighters. So you have to go and kind of separate yourself, whether it's on the mic, whether it's with your hands. And I think Manny Moicano's doing an amazing job doing that with his book. And shout out his father, getting a kid at 62 years old. I mean, this guy's amazing. Like just breeding kids at this age.
Legend, bro.
Yeah, he's a legend. Moicano, he's having another kid on the way as well. So shout out him. He wants to become a cop and fight people. Like, this guy is amazing. Like, how do you not root for this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that you can say against him is he hasn't knocked anyone out. I'm looking at his record right now. He's got no professional KOs or TKOs. But there you go, man. He's making it up for his mic work, his ability there. That carries a star to superstardom 100%. I mean, you look at it at WWE, you look at it in other organizations, if they're able to make great call outs and also put on performances, whether there's a lack of that knockout prowess, I still see him being able to get to the upper echelon and make himself a star if he's not already. I mean, his podcast is awesome, man. He talks, he calls out all the people. I mean, he did call out MMA Guru. That was pretty hilarious. I know you might not be a fan of said, but at the end of the day, I found that to be one of the funnier moments of the night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the knockout power because I thought it was so smart. He knew his game plan the first few minutes. Drew Dober, say what you want about him, but Drew Dober has one of the most powerful shots in that lightweight division. Yeah, in his record as well. Knockout. He was being a little chinny in the beginning in the first round. And I'm not going to lie, I was kind of scared. I was like, oh, damn, you're trying to get in a fucking phone booth with this guy? Not smart. He kind of changed his game plan. And I thought the fight IQ of Moicano was so excellent because he went down to his game plan, took him down and kind of rode him out. And that just goes to great training over there at AT&T down there in Florida. And I just thought it was an amazing game plan by Manny Moicano. Moving forward for him, he is sitting in the top 15 in that lightweight division. He called out, Benny Dariush, maybe in Brazil. There's rumors that UFC is going to Rio in a few months. I don't know if he gets Benny at 7. Then he gets into a little riff on X over with Paddy Pimblett. I don't know about.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, Paddy still has yet to prove himself, in my opinion. So I could see that the UFC do something like that. Especially Paddy has some good grappling, and if they want to kind of keep protecting Paddy, that's kind of a good fight. Like I said, no disrespect against Renato Moicano with no knockouts and TKOs, but that would be something that they would look as like, oh, this could be a safe fight for Paddy to get his name out there against another superstar and come out victorious. But if you were to ask me, I would hope Renato gets his first career knockout if he did fight Paddy Pimblett. So I mean, anything can happen for him. And Drew Dober, he's a staple, so he could do anything he's want. I don't think the UFC is going to let him go. I'm pretty sure he's still in the middle of his recently signed contract.
Rude boy, what a knockout by my boy. Performance of the night, that 1-2 punch, man. Oh, it was beautiful from Randy Brown. He's a winner of his last 6 or 7. He got stumbled against Jack Della Maddalena a few fights ago, but other than that, that's 2 in a row. He's won 6 of his last 7. He's a contender, Joe, in this welterweight division. I don't want to hear anything. I think he needs a ranked opponent next. Maybe a Michael Chiesa who's, very inactive. He's number 14th in the world.
I mean, yeah, bro, that's absolutely possible. He could also play backup. I would like to see. I think he's capable of possibly in the Styles matchup. If he were to play backup for, say, the MVP Kevin Holland fight, I think he could
Love that.
slide right in there easily and be a perfect stylistic matchup for either of them. So you're not looking at too much different body types, length, or any of the reach disadvantages there. So I feel like that could be a little menage a trois, if you would. So, I mean, anything could happen with Rude Boy. Randy Brown is one of our favorite fighters on the roster. That was unsuspected. I did not see him pulling that knockout off. But, man, like you said, he's compiling some great wins, man. After losing to Vicente Luque, which you can't, that was during the pandemic, and JDM. JDM is also the real deal there. I mean, look at the wins. Jared Night Train Gooden, Cowboy Oliveira, Chaos Williams, Trinaldo's no joke. And, like, these are pretty dominant wins. They're all decisions that are unanimous. And, you know, Randy, with that knockout, man, I think he could do it. He could do it all. He really has that well-rounded game where he can knock you out, submit you, or just dominate a fight to the judges. So, I think the future's bright for Randy Rude Boy Brown.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him right now. And, you know, we didn't really see that knockout prowess or that potential. And then we saw it last week, and we were like, wow, if he could compile a few more of these, I think he's a dangerous threat in that welterweight division. I think he's either a fight or two away from being ranked right now. So sky's the limit for the Jamaican fighting out of Queens, New York. Yeah, we are big fans of Rude Boy. And our girl, Natalia Silva, man, judges are going to judge, but I really thought she won 30-27 all three rounds, and they fucked me to get that -3.5. But we'll live on. She's number 7 in the world in that flyweight division for the women's. What a fucking performance from Natalia Silva on her birthday, of all places.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, so that's weird how that goes at -3.5. So regardless of the fact that she won unanimously, it was the matter of the scoring on the judges, and they didn't give her the full
no, we
round.
Got 4. Yeah, so usually 30-27 all three, and we got a 29.
It's always the hook,
28. What the fuck?
But she is honestly an absolute title challenger right now at 125. I think she could compete with the upper echelon of fighters there. She could do it all. I think she showed it with her ground game. She's so fast, one of the fastest fighters I've seen right now currently. And man, I'm a huge fan of Natalia Silva. I think she can strike with the best of them. I think we've seen what she could do on the ground. And she just pulled out full 3 rounds. So next thing for her, I'd be surprised if they don't throw her in a main event, because I think a lot of people like her. So we want to see her possibly contend for a title. And I think the next step for her is to get a 5-round fight, and that's at a main event. You know, we got the Apex still. I do think they need to shy away a little bit from it going forward, just to not, you know, kind of water it down. What's happening, in my opinion, is the Apex is being watered down. It's kind of losing its significance. I thought during the pandemic when they went to the Apex, it was a big deal. And now it's kind of, they're just throwing shit at the wall, if you would, and hoping something sticks. So I think they need to kind of address it and change up a little bit. And when they do throw an event at the Apex, it's to build a superstar and, you know, have a nice intimate situation or, you know, atmosphere for the fans that go there and the fighters.
Yeah, I'll say something on the fight nights at the Apex in a sec, but yeah, Viviane Araújo, I mean, she was getting beat up the whole fight, and she was applying pressure the whole fight. And Natalia Silva, that I guess kickboxing, she throws that left kick so fucking quick, Joe. I mean, she caught her at least 6-7 times with that head kick, and she just didn't move. And yeah, she's definitely a title challenger right now. She's ready for a main event. I think her fan base loves her. She's obviously huge in Brazil. She's getting big here in the States as well. And she's such a positive girl. She's so happy about life. I mean, she's so hard not to root for. So yeah, big fan of Natalia Silva. And with the Apex, real quick, before we get to Chuck Buffalo, I mean, this guy's amazing.
Yeah,
but you know, I like it. I understand. I understand you and a lot of people, the distaste in the mouth. You know, it is getting a little oversaturated, I will say. I could admit to that. I like it because it is very intimate. A lot of people, they you know, a lot of people, you hear this around MMA. They're the best guy in the gym, but when it comes to the big show, they kind of crumble and don't show up. And when you get on a big stage, like a fight night in Austin, I'll just say one of those. It was an amazing crowd in Austin, down in Texas. sometimes they don't show up, and sometimes the stage is too big. And then, you kind of get to the apex where it's only 100 people, friends, family, people in the UFC. You kind of are in your zone a little bit. It's kind of like practice. And I don't know, you can hear your coaches a little better. I think it's good for some fighters, and I think it's bad for certain fighters. Like, Sean Strickland should not be fighting at the apex. There are certain guys, Joe Pyfer, for example, we'll talk about him in a second. Joe Pyfer should not be fighting at the apex. I understand why they're putting him there, like your point, to boost him up, to put him over, to get him to a main event or a pay-per-view. But Bo Nickel, all these guys, you're doing a disservice to them. They do not belong at the apex whatsoever. So I understand it, but I do think in some incidents it is a good thing.
Thank you for those words. Yeah, I can't help but agree.
Yeah, and then other than that, we had the eye poke 11 seconds in. I thought rough, but I'm happy he said no, he can't fight. And I think more fighters need to do that. Don't try to be tough. You really can't fight. And that eye poke was that was a bad one. So
yeah.
Other than that, though, I thought the card was okay. Chuck Buffalo, we got the nice KO knockout in the first round.
Lone hit. Had a money line as a dog, it was worth the play. It really was. He's got that nice check left hook, bro. And coming from the orthodox stance, man. Chucky Buffalo, bro.
What a fight. Nickname. What a nickname. I love how he's like, people got to start paying me for these interviews. Shout out Molly McCann. She got the submission win in the first round.
Surprising.
Surprising, absolutely, because we all thought that was her, weakness, that is at the ground game. But love this post-fight speech after, dealing with a very tough year, mentally, physically, in her family and life. And then for her to come out and have a performance of the night, she got the bonus. It was a dominant win. I got to give credit where credit's due. Shout out Molly Meatball for that. Fight of the night, you had Charles Johnson get a unanimous decision win.
A little disappointed there. I had high expectations for Azat Maxim. The Kazakhstanians are some real fighters, but man, I just think, like you said, coming to the show, sometimes the limelight affects you.
Yeah.
And bro, honestly, I know there were some finishes there and prior, but dude, did you realize that one fight snuck under the radar? I had no idea Blake Bilder was fighting Young Yilong. I had no idea that. Yeah, and then that was there that night. I'm like, what's going on? Where was this fight all to the lead up of this? So I must have missed something in the lead up, and I apologize to y'all for not catching that.
No, it's all good. But overall, I thought the card was good. I go 2-2 on the night. I should have went 3-1. Natalia Silva, the judges are going to judge, but I take the L there. Randy Brown and Muslim Sulakaev over 2.5. That doesn't hit 0-2, but we get there with Money Marcano, and we get the over 2.5 in the main event. So we split even 2-2, no harm, no foul last week. How did you do, kid?
Yes, sir. And like I said, my lone hit was the Chucky Buffalo at plus 170 via DraftKings Sportsbook. I missed on the other three. I apologize. I was going with the dogs. Sometimes those dogs are barking on events like these. So we'll pick up on it this week.
We had a boxing fight yesterday. Timofo Lopez, he gets the unanimous decision win. Some of the scorecards, very interesting, if I'll say. 117 to 111, I thought was very outrageous. And some people, like yourself, I think, thought Timofo Lopez lost the fight. What are your thoughts last night?
Yeah, it was a rough watch. I mean, it was really disappointing. He had all this high expectation. I said he had to prove his doubters wrong. He had to prove the promotion wrong. He had to prove everyone wrong, and he didn't. And I really think Jermaine Ortiz in the early rounds had the full control of the fight. And I was talking to everybody online, and we were in agreement that Jermaine Ortiz was winning that fight about the first half of it. And you could see some of it sway towards Lopez towards the end. But I get said to the guys, I was like, look, these judges, they can be bought and they can be absolutely blackmailed into pushing an agenda. And I think that's what we're being a victim of. I do think that though Ortiz had won in the eyes of the public, the judges didn't see it that way. They were scoring those rounds for Teofimo Lopez. And so, like you said, I don't know if you mentioned it, that one card that we showed at, 117 to 111 in favor of Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah.
That is a little ridiculous.
It's kind of outrageous.
Yeah, it's outrageous.
Yeah, I scored at 115, 113. I thought Timofo did enough, like you said, toward the later end of the fight. I thought he kind of, it kind of, you saw the fight shift towards him a little bit in the championship rounds. But I do agree Ortiz was winning the first couple of rounds. But I thought Lopez was kind of feeling him out in the first few rounds. But to be honest, if they scored it for a little bit, Ortiz, and he did win the fight, I wouldn't complain. There's nothing I could do, but you're right. I think it all goes, it dates back to, I remember with Floyd Mayweather, like, God forbid it did go to the judges. They weren't going to make him lose. You know what I mean? At this point, I don't think they're going to have Timofo Lopez come to Vegas, Super Bowl week. The world of the eyes are looking at this place right now. They're not going to make him lose on the week of the Super Bowl. So, yeah, so understandable there. Very, very unfortunate. But yeah, if you want to get down or, look for a sports book for the big game or for UFC Vegas 86, DraftKings has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code AXKickPicks. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code AXKickPicks. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 age plus varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after insurance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. All right, Joe, like I said, we are back at the Apex for UFC Vegas 86, headlined by Jack Hermansson taking on Joe Pyfer. Why don't you start us off, kid? What do you got for us?
All right, let's get right into it. UFC Vegas 86 is starting off with the bantamweights, and we got Peru's own Daniel Marquez, alum of the Dana White Contender Series, taking Aoriqileng at plus 205. Heavy favorite for Daniel Marcos at minus 250, and no official play for me. But I'm leaning Marcos. I think the line is right. He does have pretty good boxing, and I think his grappling has come a long way. So, Aoriqileng, he has some deficiencies in his defense, and I feel like they could be exploited in this one. So, it being that's that $2.50 favorite right now, maybe you want to incorporate in a parlay. Maybe I'll get that going for you as we go along with some picks. So let's go into the next fight.
You gotta take your Peruvian,
absolutely, bro. I know it bit me a couple times in the 4, but I can't be doing that because when I don't, that's when I also lose. So let's go right into the next fights. We got the featherweights here between Haider Emil at minus 192 taking on Fernie Garcia, last minute replacement at plus 160. And Fernie Garcia, he's a tough guy, Mexican fighter. They had come with a lot of heart, come a lot of grit, and he's gonna bring it to Haider Emil. So I don't necessarily have an official play once again. I just wanted to mention that I would be leaning Emil with the undefeated record, just to say that it's hard to sometimes predict what you expect from undefeated guys. And so they could be frauds in a sense, or they could be legitimate stars in the making. So I'll take the lean on Haider Emil in the second fight of the evening. And I'll go right into the next fight. And so for the third fight of the evening, we have the light heavyweights on stage, which would be between Zach Pauga, which is a minus 130, against Bogdan Guskov at plus 110. And Bogdan, we saw him in his last round. I just think that for his first fight in the UFC, that was a huge, massive, if you would, step up in competition to fight Volkan Ozdemir. I don't know what the UFC's thinking, if they think that Volkan's like washed or if he's not as talented as he is, but the dude is. He obviously put him out and choked him, in the first round of that fight. So, I got to see that maybe that could have been a learning experience for him. I don't necessarily like what I see out of Zach Pauga. I don't have an official play, but I'm going to lean the experience of fighting a guy as high as the level as Volkan Ozdemir with Bogdan Guskov. And it's like a principal kind of dog bet. But like I said, it's a lean. So give me Guskov just because I don't like what I see out of Pauga. I haven't liked what I've seen out of him. And there's a chance Bogdan can prove all the doubters wrong. So let's go into the next fight here. We got Joe Pyfer's boy on the card in the welterweight division, Jeremiah Wells, minus 162 against Max Payne Griffin, plus 136. My boy, it is hard to fade Max Payne Griffin in any spot. As a dog, it's enticing to take him here too. I mean, like I said, the dude can win on the judges' scorecards. He can knock you out. He's got great submissions. He's good defensively. Jeremiah Wells, he had that knockout powder, and we see him get exposed in his last 2 outings when he didn't get the knockout and then when he lost on the scorecard. So my hope is that, he does keep the pedal to the metal and he pushes the envelope, but Mac's going to be there throughout. And if that's the case, if Jeremiah Wells does, win on the scorecards, it'll be worth it to maybe put some money on him. But here's the way I look at it. I think between these two guys being as durable and tough as they are and as talented as I think they are, regardless of Jeremiah Wells being like a sophomore in the UFC and being older in age, I think they're durable. I think we're going to get over 2.5 rounds. If it's a late finish or if it's a decision fight here, that's a lean. I just think that we're going to see these guys slug it out for the whole 3 rounds. So that's my analysis on that one. My boy, the Big Brown Bear in the light heavyweight division again. Clark. Yeah, Brown Bear Clark, man. Minus 225 against Marcin Prachnio at plus 185. And Prachnio, he's got that knockout prowess, and Devin Clark has been susceptible to some of that. I think Devin Clark could also get a finish here. You don't necessarily see it, but the dude, if you ever met Devin Clark, he is like literally a big brown bear, bro. Like he is massive for that division. So I think you could see a finish either way. I'm going to oppose my previous lean of over 2.5, and I'm going to go under 1.5 here, thinking that we get an early finish between either one of these guys. I would hate to fade my man Devin Clark, but Prachnio, man, he is some talented fighter. So we'll see there. And let's go right into the strawweights of the women's division. We got Loma Lookboonmee at minus 270. I'm taking on Bruna Brazil at plus 225. And Loma Lookboonmee, I mean, she's looked impressive, from that Muay Thai background. She's Thai. Yeah. She has the kicking ability. Her teep kicks are some of the best in the game. But don't sleep on. I know this might be a case of what have you done for me lately or some recency biases. But, man, Bruna Brazil, she looked great in her last outing. And at plus 225, I had to get the dogs barking early. So my first official play of the evening for UFC Vegas 86 will be Bruna Brazil at plus 225 via DraftKings Sportsbook. I think if she can also get this on the ground, Loma Lookboonmee, I don't necessarily think she has as much as a pedigree in the grappling exchanges as she has in her feet, but it could be a long night if she keeps it standing. So I do think the line's right, but I got to go with the dog. We doubted her once before she came out victorious. We can't, fool me once, what's the old saying? Shame on you, fool me twice. Shame on me. So I'm not getting fooled twice. Let's go with Bruna Brazil at plus 225 via DraftKings Sportsbook. And I'll take us right into the next fight. We got the lightweights on center stage. Both Dana White Contender Series alum Timothy Kwamba plus 164. Taking on Balaji Oki, my boy, minus 198, man. I've been riding Balaji Oki since the beginning. And, he made that debut on the Dana White Contender Series and absolutely performed. I don't think a lot of people were expecting his, ability to put leather on chin and knock his guy out and get him out of there. And I think Kwamba is also a last-minute replacement as well. So we got a couple dogs coming in to step up and fight guys who've been having a camp and sitting there and ready to fight. But I'm going to go with my boy Okie Dokie, all right? I got him on the lean here. I'm looking at him being a $2 favorite in this spot to get some value out of it. I mentioned, Daniel Marcos to begin with. I think I might throw them together. I'm looking at it now. Let's incorporate him on a parlay, and I might add another one in this next fight, which is in the welterweight division between Trevin Giles at plus 215, huge dog, against Carlos Prates at minus 265. And I think it's rightfully so. I think Carlos Prates can do it all. You can't deny a dude who's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, who's competed in tournaments around the world. And, he can stand and bang. So he'll be the final leg of my 3-leg parlay that I have. I have the Dana White Contender Series parlay at plus 199. That is Daniel Marcos, Balaji Oki, and Carlos Prates. All together, like I said, via DraftKings Sportsbook, plus 199. Let's go. All right. So that's the first one there for you guys. And let's go into the middleweight division, the next one. And I think this is the opening of the main card, or is this the pictured prelim?
No, this is the main card. Armen Petrosian, right?
All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that would do it for the prelims. And then the main card opener, we have another Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, Rodolfo Vieira, minus 115, that I saw it against Superman Armen Petrosian at minus 105. I do see a little more value in Armor Petrosian in this spot. I have seen him been able to stuff takedowns, and if Rodolfo Vieira can't get that submission early, it's going to be too slick, too hard for him to close out the show in the later rounds. So if I'm going to go for a shot, Rodolfo Vieira via first-round submission would be there, but my official play is Armor Petrosian on the money line. Just think that he has more ways to win, and as the fight goes on, it should start to favor him, and you should see him possibly, pulling away in terms of the stand-up and the judges scoring. So I'll take Armor Petrosian there. And then we go into where is my only fight that I don't have an official play or a lean or anything, but just want to give you some insight. I will be throwing all my Verdict XP on a shot to the moon because you got the lightweights, Michael Johnson, MJ, OG of the sport, man. We love Michael Johnson, minus 135. I don't know how quick the turnaround was between his last knockout loss with Diego Ferreira, but I do worry when I see those turnarounds, and that's why, like I said before, all my Verdict XP will be going on Darius Flowers, plus 114. No official play, no official lean, but I just had to mention that there. D, take it away. What do you got in the first fight for yourself?
Yeah, look, Flowers took his last fight against Jake Matthews on short notice. I get it. I still didn't like what I saw out of him. And Michael Johnson, he might just be the most unluckiest fighter to ever step in the octagon. But this should be a win for him unless he gets caught with something wild, which he has. But I don't think tomorrow he will. I think he gets the win. I think he's a much smarter fighter IQ. So I'm going to take him on the money line. It opened up at minus 125 at DraftKings. It's at minus 142 right now. I still like it. I think it's a playable number. So give me the OG Michael Johnson on the money line, minus 142.
I love it. He's taking on beast mode, though. You got to love a nickname like that, bro.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we all love MJ. So let's hope he gets back on track there. I got another fight here for y'all. We're in a middleweight division. A lot of middleweights in this main card, surprisingly so. But I think it makes sense. I see what they're going for. We opened up with a middleweight, and we're getting another one here. Brad Tavares, another OG of the sport. I mean, Brad Tavares has been around like since forever. I can remember growing up and seeing Brad Tavares on some of the early UFC cards. And being such a dog at plus 195, he himself is a dog, and Gregory Rodriguez RoboCop is dangerous. I think the line's right, minus 238. He has that knockout power. But, if he can't play his game, I feel like he does kind of like fall into bad habits. That is RoboCop. So, Brad Tavares, if you really look at the way he fights, he doesn't really have all too many rhythm mechanically driven like issues or like hesitancies or anything that where you could see a pattern and pick up on. He's really a well-balanced fighter. I like Brad Tavares a lot. I know he's an OG of the sport. And I'm going back to the well with the dog pick. So I know I got burned last week, but I think they're going to be barking here. I got to think that they're going to turn around sooner or later. And like I said, Gregory Rodriguez, it's kind of, hit or miss with him. So, boom or bust, if you will. I got to go with Brad Tavares, just more consistent throughout his career. The money line at plus 195, when I saw it, I think it was worth the bet. So give me Brad Tavares.
Yeah, I know RoboCop right now, he's a high favorite for a good reason. I do like him in this fight. And not just me, but I think a lot of people expect a lot out of him. He has good jiu-jitsu. We know about his power. And like you said, Tavares, he's a seasoned vet. But sometimes he makes errors, and I think this one, he makes an error and he gets put away. So I think RoboCop puts him away later in the fight. I'll take him to win inside the distance at plus 130. And I'll even sprinkle a little on him via KO TKO at plus 165.
Wow, I like it, man. I like that play. All right, and I'll go into the next fight here. Another two set in the middleweight division. Ihor Potieria, plus 164, is taking on Robert Brzezek at minus 198. And if you don't know a lot about Robert Brzezek, man, he's got some knockout power. Most of his fights have ended in the first round via submission or via KO TKO. And Ihor Potieria, he's also that type of guy that goes for the finish. And I think someone's going to get caught here, but I'm going to go with the favorite in this spot. So to get some juice out of this, I'm going to take Brzezek with the first round KO TKO at plus 110 when I saw it. If you look at it now, I do think odds are favoring towards that. It's becoming more of a favor that he will get the job done in the first round. So very chalky, but we'll get to see a new fighter in that middleweight division to see how legit he is. So let's go into the co-main event, and shout out Andre Touchy-Feely for stepping in on short notice, but he was notified just enough to get a camp in, and I've seen his posting, man, he's ready. And, I know he hasn't put together wins consecutively, but if now is the time to do it, it's now or never for him in his stage of his career. And I do think you can have kind of a renaissance, if you would, for him if he does become victorious over Dan 50K Ige. Ige, rightfully so, minus 170 favorite. And Andre Touchy-Feely is plus 142. So as I spoke about before, I'd like Andre Touchy-Feely to get on track in this one, and I'm going to be taking him on the money line. Again, another dog, man. At the end of this, if these dogs don't hit, Dylan, I'll be flying up to you, and you could just smack me on camera. So tell me to wake up if that doesn't hit.
Wake up and smell the coffee. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting fight. Second fight, Andre Fili is taken on short notice. He won his last one by a nice knockout we talked about a few weeks ago. Now fighting Dan Ige, who is very dangerous, very smart, very polished, I think, as a fighter. I think if Fili doesn't get the knockout relatively early, Ige is just the type of fighter that's going to use his control, use the clinch, use his pressure to control this fight. I think Andre Fili, I like him in this fight, but I'm going to take my boy Dan 50K Ige on the money line, minus 170 straight up. I think we're getting a decent price on him because Fili is coming off that knockout win. I'll take the discounted right. I think he should be more closer to a $2 favorite. Give me Dan Ige minus 170.
I like it, bro. I like that we're on different sides on a bunch of these, and may the best man win. But we've made it to the main event of UFC Vegas 86. And I got to tell you right now, I think a star will be born. We got Jack the Joker Hermansson, a $2 dog, a plus 210 when I saw it, against Joe Pyfer, man. Body bags, Pyfer, Joey body bags, Joe Pyfer. I mean, what can you not say about this man? I mean, his story is inspirational. His attitude towards the fight game is sensational. It's just something you can admire, just this man in his entirety. And if you've heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast and the documentary come out, I mean, everyone has glowing things to say about this guy. So if you have anybody that says anything bad about Joe Pyfer, they need to look themselves in the mirror, to be honest. Joe Pyfer at minus 258 is right. This man should be close to like a $4 favorite, in my opinion. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the week. Those who know, he's my first lock of 2024, the first lock of the year, and he broke the knockout record in terms of power. Previously, Francis Ngannou held that. I don't know whether or not they want to admit it or if they don't want to admit it. Whatever the UFC wants to do, let them. But we all know that Joe Pyfer broke that record as a middleweight. He's massive for the division. He makes weight cuts look like butter. Joe Pyfer is a superstar in the making. I mean, if they put him against Bo Nickel or any of those other middleweights right now, I think he knocks him out. I really do. Joe Pyfer is a legitimate threat for that belt right now. And they're going to get the ball rolling. They really do. I mean, he's got me a main event here. He's going to be fresh after this fight, I'm telling you. And he's going to be ready, I think, come UFC 300. I mean, he could be like weighing in as a backup for somebody. I mean, he's going to be ready to go for all of 2024, in my opinion. So I got Joe Pyfer via KO TKO at plus 140, my man. I think he gets him out of there. If you look at it now, just as one of my other plays before, my prop plays, it is being favorited. I don't even think that it's plus money anymore. I think Joe Pyfer via KO TKO is minus 115, rising to minus 120 and above.
Yeah, this is the opportunity Joe Pyfer's been looking for, man. He wanted a 5-round main event against a ranked opponent, and now he has it. Hermansson, guy who's literally fought everyone. He's a good grappler. His striking is based on volume. He throws a lot of leg kicks. The big question is, Joe Pyfer, is he ready for the big stage? We're going to find out tomorrow real quick. Pyfer, I think he has really good takedown defense. My one worry is, how is Joe Pyfer going to look if this fight gets to the third round? Is his cardio there? Is he ready for the volume that Hermansson is going to throw at him? I think he is. I'm a big fan of Joe Pyfer as well. I don't think I'm as big as a fan as you, but I do like Joe Pyfer. I like his message that he puts out into the world. I think he's a really good guy. And I think I think fighting at the apex, smaller cage, less ground to cover, I think this is a really good matchup for Joe Pyfer. Hermansson, he's fought power puncher, and he's kind of been hesitant in the past fighting power punchers because he doesn't like to get hit. I think if he can't get this fight to the floor, I think it's going to be a long night for Jack Hermansson. I believe in Joe Pyfer. I think he goes out there, he gets a finish. I'm going to take him to get the win via KO TKO. I got it this morning at even money, plus 100 over at DK. It's still at plus 100, but closer to tomorrow, it's going to be in the minus. And I think if he keeps his fight on the feet, he gets the knockout maybe in round 2 or maybe round 3. But I think this is a good opportunity for Joe Pyfer. I'm all aboard.
Awesome. We're on the same side of the main event. And that'll do it for UFC Vegas 86. I'm actually hyped for this one. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch UFC Vegas 85. I watched the beginning part. I couldn't finish it. Things came up. But I know I'm going to be locked in for this weekend, both the UFC Vegas 86 and the Super Bowl, of course.
Let's fucking go. Thank you for that, Joe. Before we get to some news and 10 seconds left for Joe, Joe has a quick word from our sponsor, Viva Tequila.
That is correct. As we are brought to you by our friends at Viva Tequila Seltzer. That is the most refreshing hard seltzer on the market, hands down. It is no wonder why Viva was voted #1 hard seltzer in the world by the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. With only 88 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar, and a 4.5% ABV, Viva is the perfect drink for your post-game celebrations, as it was created with the active lifestyle in mind. We flavored our tequila seltzers because flavor is the spice of life, and we like to drink ours with a kick, just like we like to live our lives. Whether it's a huckleberry while playing a round of golf, or an elderberry after Saturday's UFC Vegas 86, or even the Super Bowl, everybody, our flavors pair perfectly with our artisanal Blanco tequila for our subtle and refreshing drinks. Our belief here at Axe Kick Picks and Viva Seltzer is to live long, live well, and live it up.
All right, Joe, we got news. We got another fight in UFC Atlantic City. Bill Algeo will take on Kyle Nelson March 30th, UFC Atlantic City. You like this fight?
Yeah, the Monster had a great showing in Canada, his last outing. And, Bill Algeo always brings it. If I had a lean, be honest with you, I'd be taking it over. You're probably going to get some minus odds for over 1.5. Probably some still minus odds for over 2.5. But I think these guys are going to bring it, and they're going to be tough enough to tough it out to the judges.
So the fight that was supposed to go down for UFC Saudi Arabia, obviously it's not on March 2nd anymore. It got postponed to June or July-ish. But the fight between Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Shamil Gaziev has been promoted to the main event for UFC Vegas 87 on March 2nd. You like this main event for Rozenstruik?
I don't.
No?
I don't like this main event. I've heard a lot of people complaining. The Mokaev, Alex Perez fight is on the card. They were saying if they want to build a superstar, that's where you do it. Maybe put him in the main event slot. I think maybe I have seen some inklings where people are talking that the concern is whether Alex Perez is going to make it to that main event. So I could see that and understand why. But man, Shamil, 2 fights in the UFC to get a main event like that, and then
It's impressive.
you know what? Good for him. If you really want me to be real about it, good for Shamil Gaziev. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, he doesn't necessarily deserve it or has earned it. But shout out him for being there and being able to take that. And I who would deny an opportunity to fight a guy that's that high in the division, ranked, and in a main event slot. And I do think he could win it. I really do. I don't like what I've seen out of Jairzinho as of late. So if Gaziev can incorporate some of the takedowns, we saw it live in person. If he gets taken down, fight's practically over. I know it might have been a case of who he was fighting. Jail time, but Gaziev has some good grappling and he has some knockout power. So don't be surprised if Gaziev gives Jairzinho a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, big step up in competition for Gaziev, though. But I mean, you can't fault a man for accepting a main event. Like, you'd be an idiot not to. So yeah, we have Umar Nurmagomedov news. He will take on. Hold up,
Give me the name.
Bekkzat, and then his last name is Almakhan. UFC Vegas 87th, March 2nd. Umar goes from being booked against the number 4 guy, Corey Sandhagen, in the world to fighting a UFC debut guy. That's insane, kid.
I saw that. It's just like, it's very interesting. I'm trying to find his name. I just saw it here. What the heck? But I wanted to pronounce it for you guys. But yeah, I mean, it's like the new kid. You ever see the movie The New Kid? I heard people were joking about him looking like that and stuff, and I thought that was hilarious. But I don't know what to make of the new guy. Umar, I don't know. Is his management have something against him?
Ali,
to accept this fight? Yeah, man. I mean,
no one wants to fight him. That's the problem, Jones. We discussed it. We discussed it about a month ago when our preview. That was my problem, taking him to be the next champ. No one wants to fight him. Shout out Corey Sandhagen. He was fucking game, but he got hurt. But other than that, everyone is ducking him.
I got it. Bekkzat Almakhan. That's all. Bekkzat Almakhan. Yeah.
shout out him for taking the fight too. I mean, it got hypothetically if he upset Umar. Oh my god,
dude. And I mean, honestly, I don't think Umar falls as back as maybe this guy's legit because
No.
there's legitimate fighters from around the world that we just don't know of.
Yeah.
So if he beats Umar Nurmagomedov, I don't think you take really too much away from Umar. I think you give this guy a top 10 ranking, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah. Or you give him another top 15 opponent after that.
Yeah.
I mean, big step up. Glad Umar finally got a fight. It's unfortunate that he's fighting a guy making his debut, but I mean, them's the breaks if no one wants to fight you. I mean, unfortunate. UFC 299, we got another fight. Philip Lins taking on Ian Kutalabe March 9th at UFC 299 at the 305. You like that fight?
Philip Lins want to put the pressure, try to win the fight in the later rounds. Ian Kutalabe, you know his game. Hulk's going to try to knock you out.
Hulk.
So.
Yeah,
I would be leaning the opposite. I think I would be leaning Felipe Lins. Ian Kutalabe, that one-trick pony, sometimes doesn't work, but sometimes he throws on some spectacular knockouts.
Yeah.
So I would go with the more options to win.
Yeah. And we have boxing news. Last news, a note. We got Ryan Garcia taking on Devin Haney. It's official April 20th in Vegas for the Junior Welterweight Championship. This is Garcia's first title shot and Haney's biggest fight to date. Give me my boy from the Bay Area, Devin Haney. He's going to put on a masterclass, and Ryan Garcia is going to lose.
I just don't see why that fight was made because should have been Tank Davis against Devin Haney. That's the fight that should have been made because Ryan Garcia losing now gets a title shot. I mean, that just make sense to me. I'll be honest with you.
Well, he did. He won. He won his last fight.
Ryan Garcia, but in terms of the rankings, in terms of what we're looking at pound for pound, Tank Davis should have been one to get that, and he's trying to get belts. So I mean, what are we doing here?
Follow the money.
Devin Haney should win this fight. It's his fight to lose. If Ryan Garcia shocks the world, it would be a crazy thing to happen. Yeah. But before you get us out of here and pass over to me, I got one more thing left for the MMA news. And next week, big fight for him. Henry Cejudo, Triple C's birthday is today.
Oh, wow. Shout out Triple C's, man.
Yeah, shout out.
Big fucking fight against Merab Dvalishvili. Big week for the Georgian fighters. Let's say that. That's right. So, shout out Triple C's. 10 seconds left, Joe. Kick us off. What do you got, kid, for us?
I got you. I've looked around the board. Not much going on DraftKings Sportsbook this week. I know they'll have plenty in store for us next, but nothing else is really intriguing me as well. So I'm going to double down on Joe Pyfer. And I took him via KO TKO. I'm going to go even more specific. I'm going to take him with the second round KO TKO at plus 450 via DraftKings Sportsbook because I think that Jack can play his game kind of in the first. That is fresh. And Joe Pyfer can probably just pick up on his timing and then lay that right hand and get him out of there in a second. So,
whale play of the year from Joey D. Joe Joe Pyfer, baby. Right. Let's fucking go. Love it. Joe, good luck this weekend. Should be a very good. Enjoy the Super Bowl if I don't speak to you. That's going to do it for this Friday edition of Axe Picks on behalf of our sponsor, DraftKings and Viva Tequila Seltzer. Joey, I am D-Rock. We'll see you guys next week. Big pay-per-view fight with plenty of picks, plenty of hot takes. So make sure you guys follow along our social media, X and Instagram at XK Picks. You guys can find all of our episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We go live every Friday afternoon on YouTube, youtube.com/XK Picks Live. Hit that like button, subscribe, rate, give us a review. Leave in the comments who you'll be betting on this week. All that good stuff really helps the show grow tremendously. So be a friend, tell a friend. Good luck on your wagers this weekend. Be safe, be well, and we will see you guys down the road. Peace.